Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this morning's call. Please could I ask you just to raise your hand or just type it in the chat box just so I can make sure that you can actually hear me and see my screen. Okay. There we go. Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. Good stuff. Can see who are the awake people this morning coming in first. So thanks very much, Phil, David, and Jer. Okay, good, Jer, got that. Okay, so this morning's spotlight session, you know, in the black belt program that we use, we very much focus on the three corners of the triangle, which is the one corner is systems, another corner is team, and the third corner is growth. And it's really about getting those three systems right, because ultimately, as you build your practice, then when you tick those three corners, then you can build a practice that will give you freedom. So this morning, we're going to have an interview with Ben Korklin, and he's from Lawrence Grant. Now, Ben has been on this journey for a while. I don't think he's quite achieved the point of complete freedom yet, although that may be very well be in the future. So, Ben, I know last time we spoke, I said, please can you go into mute? If you could just press your unmute button there, and we can get you back on the call with us.
Hi, Rudy.
Hey, morning, Ben. So, thank you very much for your time this morning. Can I ask you to just go ahead, introduce yourself, and tell us a bit more about yourself and the firm for those who are on the call?
Hi, I'm Ben. I'm a partner at Lawrence Grant. I've been a partner for about 4 years. We're a 4-partner firm, and we have around about 36 members of staff.
Okay, good stuff. Thanks very much. So, Ben, the reason I asked you to come to this morning's spotlight session is because I know you've been on quite a journey, and there's been a huge amount of growth around all three of those corners of the triangle, and a lot of personal growth as well. So I'm really going to hand over to you. Tell us about this journey. Share with us, for the others to learn from you, on this journey with the team systems growth in that triangle. What have been some of your biggest learnings and insights? So really, over to you, Ben.
Thanks very much. I think it's important to think about where we were before we started working together, because I was very much in a position where I was probably, admittedly, overtrading. I was going after clients, bringing in lots of business every day, perhaps not servicing them properly. And I think I was in a cycle where I just feel like I was firefighting every day. I was just, I think that my emails were in charge of me. I think I was chasing money all the time. And I think that we've completely turned it around now. We're in a very, very good space psychologically. We've done some amazing things. We've restructured. It's a totally different product now whenever we take on a new client. And I just feel that we are in the right direction to achieve our goals.
Okay, fantastic. And just to mention as well, I know there's a few people on this call the first time that they're on the spotlight session, so welcome to all of you. And also, if you have questions, we're not going to unmute people this morning because there are actually too many. But if you have got questions, then just go ahead and type it into the chat box. I'll pick that up, or into the question box there. I'll pick those questions up and I'll ask them of Ben. So Ben, hey, it sounds like a lot of changes have happened there. So share with us some of those learnings. So if you go delve deeply into each of those things that you mentioned, and share with us some of the learnings that you've had and how it happened.
I think I've had massive personal growth, but before we talk about that, I think that it's important to talk about what we did at the firm. And I think that one of the most important things that we might keep coming back to is that we've had a change in the partnership at the top. We've had a partner leave and somebody join us very recently, and I think that it's a good thing, and it's fantastic in the long run, even though it's been a difficult journey. But around about September time last year, we restructured our firm and our team. We now have 3 teams which are headed up by supervisors, and they pretty much look after different types of specialist sectors inside the firm. It makes the workflow much easier. We now have client managers, which means that I now get far less emails than I used to. Really encourage clients to go directly to the supervisors, and it means that the clients get a much better service than they used to as well. They don't have to wait until somebody comes back to them all the time. So that's really good.
So Ben, just a quick one on that one, because a lot of people, this whole letting go is such a big fear for a lot of us. When you made this transition of, actually, I'm not going to be the first port of call for my clients, but someone else is going to be, what happened in your mind, and how did that actually happen in reality?
I think it's an interesting question, because I think that, speaking freely, it was harder for me than my partners, because I joined the firm 4 years ago. I used to have my own practice on my own, and when they asked me to join as a partner, it was very hard for me to let go. I always wanted control of my clients. My clients were only used to talking to me, so it was a big thing to let them talk to one other person in the firm, let alone 5 or 6 other people. And then eventually, what was happening was that I realised that the more business I picked up, I couldn't talk to everybody, and I needed people to get back to my clients more quickly. It changed my way of thinking, and then gradually over the last year and a half since we've been working together and we implemented the system, it meant that the supervisors have grown as well. By giving them the opportunity to work more commercially with the clients, they know the answers to the questions, they know how to talk to people. We've trained them to deal with certain types of queries, how to look after people, because at the end of the day, they're not just asking a question, they want to be serviced. And we've trained our staff to service our clients in a way that we want them to be looked after. And it's been very beneficial for us.
And that transition phase, did you actually lose good clients because you let go of this control and really hand them over to someone else, or not particularly?
No, I think that it's meant that we've picked up more business. I think that the referrals have kept coming in. We've actually picked up more word of mouth business over the last 6 months than perhaps we even did previously. Coming to think about it, there were 1 or 2 teething problems which were more out of frustration that they couldn't talk to me. But at the same time as picking up lots of business, I'm not saying we haven't lost 1 or 2 clients, but I mean the clients that I've lost, to be honest, I'm pleased have gone. And that's not masking it. There's a couple which I was so tired of dealing with, and the problem is that the staff didn't want to deal with them either. And when I told, especially a couple, when I told one of the supervisors that a certain client was leaving, they were so pleased. And I think also one of the things that I'm now focused on is picking up not only new clients, but the right type of the clients for the firm. And we do turn business away, which is it's a massive area of growth. It's very satisfying to turn around to someone and say, I don't think it's going to be the right fit for us unless you wouldn't work like this. It's a very powerful thing to say to a potential client, and actually makes them want to come on board,
Absolutely. So to check there, so in this transition, there was an initial scary phase for you of, and there was teething problems. But in that, the staff stepped up and grew. The clients are probably being serviced better now than before, because it's not just you and being spread so thin. And that's resulted, you've actually had space to go and find more new clients.
Absolutely, 100%. And also the teething problems, they were minimal. I thought that they were going to be much bigger than they were, but they were minimal. And it also means that everyone inside the firm is much happier because they've got more responsibility. They're not as frustrated that they have to wait to talk to us to get an answer for a question. It's a win-win situation for everybody, really.
Okay, brilliant. So share us a bit more about your learnings about having the right team on board.
I think the 2 major things that spring to mind is, first of all, about recruitment. We've totally changed our attitude towards the way that we recruit. So first of all, the formula A plus A equals 8 plus, where if you judge somebody on ability and attitude, and you give them a mark out of 10 for each, and if the average is below 8, we don't take them on. We've actually gone down the road where, first of all, we've not taken people on that basis, even if they're a 7, and second of all, we've taken people on who we thought were an 8, and they actually turn out to be a 6 or a 7, or maybe even a 5. And within the probation period, we've actually let them go because we just know that it's going to be a disaster further down the line, or you're going to end up with somebody average. And having the right people on board has just been massive. And taking that concept a step further, we've now one of our 3 supervisors who heads up our team, who's an amazing colleague. She's got amazing potential, and she was someone that we took on who's very, very young. And we never expected her to be heading up any sort of team, even before the restructure. She's been with the firm about a year, And it's because of that concept that we decided to take her on. We probably would have taken on somebody else before we got to interview her in hindsight before. And it makes a massive difference. You can delegate more work. She can go out and she can deal with your clients. She can charge more for the work she's doing. It's more profitable to give her some jobs than to give it to other people. I mean, the list is endless. But more than anything, I would say she probably doesn't even know, but she's a potential partner for the firm. And when you recruit at a higher level, it reflects on you as well. So it means that the capabilities are endless, really.
So again, please share us the whole transition, because in theory, the concept of having the right people, A plus A equals A plus, in theory it all sounds grand, but actually to apply it is a whole different story. And I know that you guys went through a massive process of actually redundancies, moving the wrong people on. And I know actually quite a period of a lot of pain that you were through in that process, but you stuck through it though. So for those who are still, it's a theoretical concept and I kind of understand, but I haven't actually done it in the real world. Please share with us that, I suppose, the mental journey that you go through.
Trying to tell you as much as I can. First of all, I mean, my partners have been with the firm for over 20 years. And some of those people have been here for over 20 years as well, one lady for over 30 years. But one of the things that we've tried to do, without going off on a tangent, is to try to increase the quality of our systems. So we've brought in a document management system called Virtual Cabinet, which has been brilliant for us. And it means that it reduces some of the admin time. And what that meant was that we had 6 admin staff who were with the firm for a long period of time, and it meant that there wasn't the work available for them to be doing that there used to be. We also moved office just before I joined the firm, around about 6 or 7 years ago, and one of those admin people was actually a handyman, because the firm used to be in a grand old property before, and there wasn't the same work for him to do. So we got to a position where we needed to make redundancies, and it's a very, very difficult thing to do, because not only was it perhaps a necessary business process, but some of the partners, or some of my partners anyway, had a big emotional tie to people they've been working with a long time, and it was a very difficult process. So we went through the restructuring, and we now have 1 secretary stroke PA per partner. And obviously you don't need 6 people to be to look after 4 partners. So we got to the point where we had to get rid of 3 people and end up recruiting 1 extra. So that's where we are. So it was a very painful process. It was obviously a difficult process between partners, but we managed it properly, and it's the right thing for the firm. And we try to do our best to look after the people who are leaving as well. But it's now that we're through the other side, even though it was a difficult process, we feel like we're in a fantastic place.
And I guess, going through the difficult, because at the end of the day, leadership is about doing the right thing, not the comfortable thing. And yes, going from 6 people down to 3, then plus 1, so 4, it's not an easy thing, but it has been the right thing for you guys. And so looking at your team now, and you said there's over 30 staff members plus the 4 partners, would you say that everyone in your team is an A plus person of a 8 ranking or higher, or do you still have a couple in there or a few that are perhaps not quite at that level yet?
So it's a really interesting question. So I would say that all the new staff are definitely A+ members. It takes time to search for the right people, and it's quite frustrating when you're either sitting through interviews or sifting or asking our practice managers to sift through CVs. But there's other people where the partners or the managers or the supervisors disagree on whether that person should be under review or even further process be looked at in the future. But I think the point is that we've raised the level of expectation around us. So certain people who weren't stepping up before are now stepping up their performance because they see what other people around them are doing. And there'll be other people within the next 6 months to a year, because obviously we've had a bit of disruption in the firm, and we just want to give people a little bit of breathing space before we put a couple of other people under review. But we will put people under review to either help them progress or to help others around them step up, because it's amazing the ripple effect you can have on everybody else just by looking at one person.
Fantastic. And you mentioned earlier that you were drowning in emails before, and at some point you didn't have a PA or your own secretary. Please share with us your process there and your learnings.
There's so many learnings. I mean, the things that spring to mind. First of all, the emails. I mean, still get well over 100 emails a day, plus all the junk mail. But the thing is that the emails have reduced because we've restructured the team, and what's happened is even if I'm getting copied in on emails by clients, they're still emailing the supervisors. It's been a long journey, but they're doing that, and it means that I don't have to reply to everything. I'm hoping to delegate my emails or set up a new email address so that my PA can respond to some of the other emails. I think that having a PA has just been a mind-blowing change. It's made such a massive difference. I mean, I was talking before about the extra heads we had before and the admin staff, but nobody was proactively looking after my work or my portfolio or trying to help me. I was doing everything myself, whereas now I've got someone who looks after me and thinks about my day first, and just helps me when I'm a bit short or I need an extra pair of hands. And even though we restructured and we've got the supervisors, it's not always possible to hand down either some of the admin work or some of the more personal, confidential stuff that I used to have to do myself before. So having a PA has just been a mind-blowing change. It makes a massive difference, and hopefully I can look after her the way she looks after me, because it's just a huge change. I really feel like I can achieve so much now that I've got someone who's freed me up to go out. I mean, the last 3 months since she's been here, I've brought in so much business because I've had the time and capacity to go out and see people while she's making meetings, while she's replying to other people, while she's doing confidential stuff for the firm, while she's filling out letters for clients who might need something for their solicitor. All those sort of things I couldn't delegate before. So having someone you can trust is absolutely massive, and has made a massive difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And often the objection that gets raised for a PA might be a good idea. The first thing that always comes is, oh, but there's a lot of confidential things, and I can't just let somebody see either my personal stuff or things that is at high-level discussions between partners. So would you go back to it? It's a matter of finding the right person that you can trust, who's an A-plus person then?
Absolutely. That's what when we were recruiting, myself and our practice manager for the right person. I needed our practice manager, Predictor's help, because I need someone who would be objective and who would get on with us, because we all work quite closely together. But she was the right person. She was the right level of professionalism. We made it very clear that we wanted someone who would not only be confidential but also loyal. I think just attitude is absolutely everything. I mean, I think that we've discussed many times that if you've got somebody with the right attitude, and they're willing to learn, then you can teach them. But the person that we've taken on not only wants to do a very good job, but thrives on the fact that they're in the fold and they're looking after important things, and is very professional. And it was very difficult at first to let go and to let them see some of my personal stuff. But now we've gone on to the next level. She's got her work emails on her phone, which is something we were quite careful about before, purely because we've had a bit of disruption in the firm over the last year with people who've had access to information from outside, and hopefully it was it's only been 3 or 4 months, but hopefully it will keep progressing, because it's very, very important for the firm, and it's a benefit to the firm.
For a query from Jer, he typed in there, quick query on the PA. If Ben doesn't mind, could he talk about her professional background, skills, and experience?
Yeah, with pleasure. First of all, we were looking for somebody that would have a good fit with me personally, and would be good with the clients, and someone who my clients would warm to, because if they couldn't get hold of me, I'd want them to be able to talk to her, and for her to build up a relationship with them. And her background is, first of all, she used to work in a financial institution with some clients from the Middle East, and also before that she was working with a firm of architects, and again it was a professional services background where she was involved in quotes and also client facing and dealing with people who were stressed over certain types of and stages of building work. So she's very, very calm, and when I'm running around doing 50 things, that's just priceless to me. I should probably tell her that. But she's very good with the clients, and she thinks proactively. She thinks ahead, and everything is confidential. It's my understanding anyway. So it's been very beneficial.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, excellent. Okay, Jared, great question. Thanks very much for that. Okay, so let's go on to systems, because I recall, there was a phase where debtors was not fantastic, work in progress wasn't fantastic, a whole range of things. So tell us a bit more about systems and your learnings and growth over that side of things.
I think that first of all, the most significant thing is that our WIP was building up, because we were bringing, one of the things that we think we're strong at in our firm is bringing in business. So we were bringing in a lot of business, and the work was getting stuck because we couldn't get it out quickly enough. So the first thing that we did was we allocated a partner to look after WIP, and we had a monthly WIP meeting at the beginning of each month, partner to partner. If we made ourselves accountable for something that was a problem, it would mean that we would be able to sort it out because we were accountable to each other. So we'd go through all of the balances on our work in progress. We keep timesheets, obviously, so we'd look at what the value on our work in progress was, and we'd say to each other, right, this month we're going to do items 1 to 15, whatever they might be, and we've got to get those out by the end of the month, and we'd have to make ourselves do that, and that's been a massive change. So that was brilliant. And because we've had changes at partner level over the last month, we actually need to reschedule that. But the interesting thing is we're actually doing it ourselves out of habit. And one of the things that I've taken it on a step further since we restructured our team is that I go through my work in progress at the beginning of each month, and I identify balances that need to go out by the end of the next month or within the next week. And I have a weekly meeting with my supervisors first thing on a Monday morning. And we keep a running schedule of what's going on with those balances, and we get those jobs out. And by sitting down and talking to the supervisors, not only can you give them advice on any potential pitfalls that might be coming up, but you can tell them a little bit about the client. We can arrange meetings before the month end if there's a deadline or a client needs something for a mortgage application, and it's working really well. So the WIP is in hand and is helping us bill more, and is keeping the lockup down, because you're getting the work out quicker, which is really great. The next thing is the debtors, which... I
was going to just jump in there very quickly before we go on to debtors. And just for those who aren't aware, I recall, in the early days, work in progress, it was almost no one's responsibility. And then when we talked about the who, what, when triangle of, okay, so who is the ultimate person responsible for this? And even if you look at the whole concept of octopus management, WIP is a project, but who's responsible for it? And that's when you guys actually made a specific partner ultimately responsible for the whole thing. And then, because I know before, it was kind of, the reports were there, kind of being looked at, but not really actioned. And then once you guys got in this place of, okay, there's a person responsible, it's regular meetings, and the accountability at a high level started happening more as well, and that's when things also started shifting. So, okay, that's a work in progress. Good. Let's move on to debtors. So, yes.
Debtors is bizarrely a work in progress. I'm not totally happy with it yet, but I think the important thing to realise is that the new clients that we've taken on over the last year, I think that they're in a very good place. So we now don't take any client on unless they are going to either pay up front for a one-off bit of work or get them on standing order, so that they've paid in advance of something that's going to happen. So we're up to date. So the new clients is in a great place. We've used something that we picked up from the group. We've utilised something called Keys Finance to help us clean up some of our old debtors. Keys Finance tend to pay the client's fees, and then the clients repay them over a period maximum of 10 months with a small amount of interest. So that's helped us clear up some old debtors if the client's happy to go on that scheme. We use Go Cardless for our clients who want to go onto standing order, which has been really effective, and we're looking at utilising direct debits going forwards because the bank have approved us to take direct debits payments from our clients. That's something we're hoping to implement over the next few months. So we think that we're in a strong position there. One of the things that we've tried, and we're literally about to move over to somebody else when we find the right person, is somebody who's quite strong with the debt collection, because I think that we've allocated it to a couple of people who we thought would be good in the firm, but I think they've ended up being too nice, and it's not working. So some of the old debts are still kicking about, but nothing's perfect, and it's an area that we want to address.
Absolutely, and I totally agree with you. If you have somebody in the firm in your practice who's the right personality for debt collection, and you can hold them accountable in the process, fantastic. And if you haven't got such a person, then make another plan. If that means go external to look for somebody who specializes in credit control, then do that. Keys Finance, just for those who have not come across them before, how do you spell that if people want to Google them? Or
Keys, Keys Finance, and the process works quite quickly. I've been very impressed with it.
Good stuff. And I seem to recall that you guys also use credit card, or you have credit card facilities. Do you ever use that as well?
Yeah, I mean, it was a funny thing. I mean, when I joined the firm a few years ago, I couldn't believe that we didn't have a credit card machine. And one of my clients sells the service, and we implemented the credit card machine probably about 2.5 years ago now, something like that. And it's really great for people who, let's say they've got it might be a small tax return, or it might be a one-off job where they've not paid monthly for it. It might be a mortgage certificate, whatever it might be, to pay a small amount or clear an old debt of, let's say, £1,000 or £2,000. And if you call the client up and just say, you owe this money, and they'll say, oh, maybe I'll pay you by bank transfer later. You say, oh, have you got a credit card? And they can just clear that debt over the phone very quickly. And we do take quite a bit on the credit card machine each week, so it helps us take in a little bit more and helps us with our cash flow. So that's been really, really good, actually.
So would you hand a call like that over to your PA, or do you personally take the details?
I wouldn't even know how to work the machine, to be honest with you. I pass it over to my PA, and she deals with it. She's fantastic. But we've probably got 4 or 5 people in the firm who can take credit card payments, to be fair. And we do it in client meetings as well. So when a new client turns up and they want us to start work, if they haven't signed up to Go Cardless yet in the meeting, I'll say to them, I hope you don't mind, but it's firm policy to ask for a goodwill gesture or payment on account, and depending on what the job is or how much the fees are, they might pay 500, 1,000, 1,500 quid on account up front on the credit card, and we tell them it will go on the client account, and we give them a receipt, and they tend to be quite happy with that.
Okay, so that's the point where I can hear a lot of accountants just falling off their chairs. How could you dare and do something like that? So you guys do that. It's not too cheeky, and the clients don't run away when you dare and ask something like that.
No, it's it's a funny thing, because I don't think we would have done it before we got into the habit of asking for money up front. But at the end of the day, this is our work. I think that the value is there before the work has been prepared to the client. If you prepare the work and tell them the answer or the figures they want or whatever it might be, they're not going to want to pay you after. So you ask for money up front, and the funny thing is that the better the client and the more expensive the bill or the bigger the payment that you ask for, the happier they are to pay, because they want a good service. They want to come to a good place where where what they want is worth something. And I've never had anyone turn around and say no, I can't do it, because people have got credit cards in them, and some people prefer to pay by debit card because we charge an extra 2%. We recharge what we have to pay, and the funny thing is that on 1 or 2 occasions where people don't want to pay the extra money, and you can get that feel for it, I actually just say, look, I want to look after you. Don't worry, I'll pay the 2%, but can you just pay a couple of grand on the credit card? They're like, yeah, fine, because they know that you're not out to get them. and it's helped our cash flow immensely, and it means that we don't start a whole load of work before we get paid.
Fantastic. Please share this also. So you know your scripting for that, your wording is, listen, it's a company policy, and as a sign of goodwill, we require you to put some money up front. When else do you take money up front? For what kind of projects? Or
we've got several bank accounts, and one of the accounts that we've got is a client account with Barclays. And for example, off the top of my head, I picked up a reasonable client the other day who needs some financing, and he can't do it until he's done another set of accounts which show an increased profit. So I said to him, look, I'll do it for you straight away. You need to bring me X, Y, and Z and give me the information from your previous accountant. I said, and I'll try and do it depending on who's available within the firm to get the work done within the next 4 to 6 weeks. But if you want me to be your accountant going forward and you want us to look after you, you're going to have to sign up to go cardless monthly for next year's fees, and you're also going to have to pay us $3,000 for last year's work straight away. So that will go into the client account, and we won't raise an invoice for that or take that money until the work's been prepared. But we can't start that work until you've put it onto the client account. And I'm still waiting for him to pay, actually, but I've got to give him a chance. I mean, it's only been a few days. But yeah, we won't. I've got into the habit. I'm quite comfortable with that now, of not getting myself into a problem where you end up having to chase for something for weeks, and it ends up becoming a negative exercise where you wish you hadn't done it in the first place.
yeah, because I remember your starting point with me was really where you had your head in your hands, always chasing money.
Absolutely.
And now it's on the other way around.
Absolutely. I mean, I could probably dissect my trade debtors listing, and basically we bill out everybody that pays us monthly. I bill them out quarterly in line with our VAT quarter, because to do it every single month would just be a waste of administration time. But if you look at the old debtors, I mean, I'm still trying to clear some of those up, but I know that I'll get paid, so I don't want to write them off. But if you look at all the new clients, it's all minus figures, and I've been busy billing them out this quarter towards the end of our financial year end. And there's a great bit of satisfaction every quarter, because all the minus figures on there, the people that have paid up front, it takes longer and longer, and the list gets bigger and bigger every quarter, and it's something I'm quite proud and satisfied with.
Excellent. Yeah, because I know even in this call this morning, there's some of us on this call who could probably have enough money locked up in our debtors and our WIP to put a very good deposit on a Learjet. So well done for you, Ben. That's excellent. Share us a bit about planning your day and your week.
I think that before, when we started working together, I think before the work used to dictate my life, and I wasn't in control. I mean, I was just out of control. I was fighting a losing battle, and I was just going around in circles. And I think the two major things that I've done which have changed my life, first of all, I use something called the Daily Time Coach, and that just basically identifies the 3 most important things I need to do each day. And I've been doing that for over a year. I mean, I've been saving my spreadsheets so that I can keep my learnings. And I'm now on spreadsheet number 65, so I know how long I've been doing it for. And the other thing is before, I mean, I've got 2 young kids. I just felt like I was working and working and working, and I never had time for anything. I used to make a list of 25 things I wanted to do each week on a Sunday night. And then if I got through 15 of them, I was really disappointed I hadn't got through the other 10. Whereas now I know that I'm in charge. I put down the most important things I need to do each day and each week. And anything else that doesn't get done isn't as important. And I feel like I've got more time for my family, more time for my kids. And the other thing is, I think, is that I make time for the things that I want to do as well. So if I need to go and exercise, want to go to the gym, I plan it into my day. I don't just leave it and don't have that time. And I'm in a much happier place now, and that's got massive knock-on effect. You know, I'm energetic, I'm happy, I'm confident, yeah, everything. So I feel like I'm in a really good place.
Good stuff. Can I also ask you, the Daily Time Coach is one of the tools we've got on the Black Belt site, but it's not something that I've given to all my clients because not everyone needs it. Could you please, for those who've not seen it yet, just elaborate a bit what is in the Daily Time Coach and how does that process work?
The Daily Time Coach is a very simple spreadsheet with a very small amount of data on it. There are 3 boxes for each day that have got you list in those 3 boxes the items or the goals that you want to achieve for that day, and I tend to fill it out the day before or first thing in the morning. Then at the end of the day, whether you've achieved those goals or not, you either highlight them in green or in red and decide whether or not you want to do them the following day or delegate them. And then below those items, there's 4 or 5 questions that basically ask you what worked well that day, what didn't work well, what do we need to implement in the future, and the biggest learning from today. And when I started doing it, I didn't really fill it out properly, I just filled in my goals. But then after a while, I realised that the small questions after, especially the ones where I had the same answers for those questions, it meant that I needed to find a system to solve those problems. And that actually meant that now, rather than being answerable to the spreadsheet, I'm now answerable to myself. And every time we've got a problem, I now know how to go and implement a system to move on and improve the processes inside the firm and also the way that I work. And it's a very powerful feeling to know that you can go and solve a problem and improve things.
Fantastic. And I know, and I'll just say for those of you who feel that you might want to make use of the tool, let me know and I'll get that to you. And also then that will be in a process of accountability to make sure that you're actually using it. But I find it really interesting that the clients of mine who do use it and then get into the habit of it, literally years down the line, they'll still be using it because it's just such a focusing exercise. Okay, fantastic. And then let's move on to growth of the firm. I know that you're massive on networking. Share with us some of your ideas on all of that.
I mean, I could probably talk all day about networking. I think the first thing that we try and do is to, as a firm, when we try and bring in new business, is to almost spread our portfolio risk. So we network in different places. We send staff out to get the experience and also sell for the firm. We do things online. We do pay-per-click. We do advertising. We do a whole host of things to bring in new work for the firm. But with regards to networking, we've got 3 people, including myself, in BNI chapters. It's something that's been very big for the firm. I used to be part of a small chapter when I started out. Quite a few years ago, and it was very good. We still get a lot of business from that chapter. So one of my colleagues took over from me when my second child was born, and I needed a bit of a break. I always said to my wife that if a spot came up at a bigger chapter, I'd have to try and go for it because I know how good it can be. And a spot came up a week later, just before Christmas. And the accountant stepped down after 19 years there. I know he'd been very successful. About 10 accountants went for the position. They offered it to me just before Christmas, which is really great, and I'm already getting business from it. So it's something that I'm hoping will generate a lot of business for the firm. It's hundreds of thousands, hopefully. So we're really positive, and we give a lot of time and effort for that area. And something else that we've also done is we wanted to try to encourage our staff to go out and sell for the firm, not only to give them more experience, but to bring in more business. And even though we did it with around about 10 to 15 people that were interested in the firm, I just thought if we can inspire one person, then that will be massive. And there's a couple of people that have really stepped up and come to the fore and are bringing in business. And we did a quarterly workshop. We tried to improve their skills, tried to make it exciting, do something a little bit different. Help people to give presentations, help people to learn how to speak, and the personal growth that you can see within the firm is inspiring other people. You've got people standing up very nervous and now can stand up and talk in front of lots of people. And it means that when they go out and they talk for the firm and they talk in presentations in front of lots of people, it looks really good for us that our people can do that. So it's a very positive place at the moment. And we gave out a trophy at the end of the year last year for Networker of the Year, and that was really good. And the person who won that sits on her desk very proudly. So there's a lot of very positive things going on, and it's something that we're very proud of.
Excellent. Let's go back to the BNI group, because I believe it's probably one of the most active, largest BNI groups in London, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I'm very proud. I think it's something that they call a platinum chapter. I think they did over £4 million worth of business last year. I think from experience, having been involved with it for a few years, there's different types of groups. There's smaller groups where there's 1 or 2 very active members, and the group that I'm in has got over 50 members. There's a lot of very established businesses with some people who I think quite highly of, and to have the accountancy in that chapter is hopefully going to be very good for the firm. So I think if you get into the right chapter with the right people, not only can it bring in a lot of business, but it can also increase your contacts. It means that you can provide a good service to your clients, because when I sit through and go through a set of accounts like I did last week with a client, and you talk about saving them money, and you can refer them to local people who can even save them money on their energy, or it might be their insurance bills, which are quite high for some businesses. It's a very powerful thing to be involved in. But also there's a lot of personal growth in there. You're standing up, you're talking every week, and because we're involved in 3 chapters now, it means that every single week we're getting in front of over 100 people who are talking about our firm, and hopefully talking well about our firm, and hopefully it'll be very good for us in the future.
Okay, good stuff. Colin's coming with a question. We're just going to hold that question for a little bit, Colin. Ben, going back to BNI, so there were 10 accountants who were trying to get into this chapter. You walked away with the door open. And I seem to recall that we had a bit of a chat about your strategy for how to go about getting in there. Was there much thinking and planning and strategy behind you actually being chosen, or was it purely luck and accident?
I had to work very, very hard to try and get that seat. I was involved with the chapter before, so I had some sort of experience. Because the previous accountant had been there for 19 years and is also someone I think quite highly of, and is a very successful guy, I know that they weren't going to give it out to just anybody, so they kept the seat open for a month. And they said that we'll take visitors, and we'll let people apply, and we'll see who turns up, and we'll try and take the best person for the chapter. And what I actually did was, you're only allowed to visit twice if you're not a member. So I found out other people who couldn't go to meetings, and I subbed for them, which meant that I could go every week, which showed that I was committed. I bought referrals for the weeks that I wasn't a member before, while I was trying to apply. I worked very, very hard on my speaking for those few weeks before I was asked to join the chapter. And also, quite unashamedly, because I know how it works, I worked out who would be voting for new people to join the chapter, and I made a special effort with those people and tried to make a good impression, and I just did my best, and they asked me to join, so I was very pleased. And even though I don't like getting up that early in the morning, it will be a long time till I give up that position, because I know it can be really good for us.
Okay, so a total plan of attack there, which you followed then, so well done on that. Excellent. Okay, question from Colin. How did Ben incentivize the staff members to sell for the firm? Is it extra pay, commission? What is your process there?
First of all, we wanted to try and do something a little bit different. We just asked, I put out an email to the staff, and I said who would be interested in coming to learn a bit more about networking, because I didn't want people who didn't want to do it just to turn up just so that they could sit there and waste an hour. So we had about 15 to 20 people turn up at the first workshop. Then at that workshop, we spoke about some of the events, and we asked who would be interested in going, and around about half the people there wanted to go. And we've got a standard policy that people get 10% on any fees that have been paid, and if they bring anything in themselves. But bizarrely, a lot of the people who want to go out and sell for the firm haven't been interested in the money. It's all about the personal growth and maybe having clients that they can look after, and also because 1 or 2 people are doing it, other people want to do it. They don't want to get left behind, which is a very powerful thing. And then there's one or two other people who are generally ambitious and excitable themselves, and they want to get involved and step up and do something new and all the rest of it. And one of those people has actually been here a very long time and just felt she wasn't given the opportunity before. And she eventually, after we started this process, took over from me at my old BNI chapter because she'd started subbing and she loved it. And she'd gone from being somebody who didn't really want to talk to people to now having the confidence to go up and talk to people and talk about the firm. And I just think it's having the mindset to go out and try something new and having the confidence to know that you can do it. And I've really tried to give her the confidence because people like her very, very much. And now that she realises that, she's happy to talk to people. She's very good at talking about the firm. She's been here a long time. And I just think that knowing that it will benefit them and their status, we've promoted a couple of people to tax consultant inside the firm within our structure, so they're still working under supervisors who can manage the workflow, but they've got the respect that they're the people that go out and deal with the clients and try and bring in work. And for them, that's more important than the money, which is really, really interesting, actually, from a psychological point of view.
Fantastic. The 10% that you do offer, would that be 10% of the first year's fees paid or ongoing?
Ongoing, every year. The funny thing is, the person who's bringing in the most work isn't interested in the money. It's the strangest thing. I don't know whether it's just her, but I think that she just feels it's part of her job, and we actually want to give her the money. She doesn't want to take it. It's the strangest thing, but there you go.
Okay. Really interesting. Thanks very much. And Colin, great question there. Also, just aware we're in our last 14 minutes, so any other questions, feel free to put them in there. Let's tap Ben's brain here. Ben, also, you touched on, or when we spoke earlier, you mentioned about personal growth. So touch on the whole personal growth element for us, because often people say, well, I've got to grow my business, so it's a team, it's a systems, it's a growth, it's the stuff out there. And very often we almost discard or forget about how important the personal growth element is. So please tell us a bit more about that.
I think I'm very positive, and I feel very strongly that unless you're in the best shape, both mentally and physically, to make the changes, they're just not going to happen. If you're just tired and fed up and you're in the same circle all the time, then you're not going to be able to make the changes that you need. So I think, first of all, one of the great shifts that I had over the last year and a half is having the open-mindedness to try new things. For example, when we implemented Go Cardless, and a few seconds later the client just signed up, like it was the most easiest thing in the world. I just thought, well, first of all, why didn't I do this ages ago? And second of all, I've tried this, now let's try something else. And I find it quite exciting to implement new things. You know, I've now gone from putting stuff off to being excited about doing stuff. So I think that's a massive shift. I think also, I spoke before about having young kids. I mean, my kids are a tiny bit older now, and I feel like I've got more energy than I used to. But I went on a conference. We do international work, and I sat next to a guy who's a partner at a big law firm, and they've got over 600 people. And I was asking him I was just trying to milk him for information about a year ago, and he turned around to me and he said, forget all that stuff. He said, the best advice I can tell you is to get a personal trainer. And this guy, who was in his mid-60s, looked like he was in his late 40s. And he just said, you know, like if you feel fresh, you feel good, you feel confident, he said it will make the biggest change in you. He said it will make the biggest difference. So even though I don't think it's something you can do all year round, something I did for a little while and I've done it again, and I just think it's massive. So if you're in good physical shape, I'm much fitter than I used to be, especially as, you know, I used to spend a lot of time sitting at my desk. I've now got more energy, I'm now happier, more confident when I go into new client meetings, happier around the staff, happier around my family. It makes a massive difference. So I think that there's been a lot of personal growth on that side of things, eating better. But also I think that I've learned about the way that I deal with people. I think there's been a massive shift. I used to be, probably because I was quite tired too, but I think I've really, really grown personally. Before I used to be very confrontational in the moment, perhaps argumentative. Now I'm very calm and rational, and either I try and swerve people or change their mind in the moment, or I'll take some time and then I'll try and change people's mind over a period of time, and I find that's much more effective. and I think I'm a much nicer person as well, to be honest. I think I'm much happier.
I remember there's an American public speaker, author, a guy called John Maxwell, and his saying is that leadership is influence. So yeah, absolutely. And building the practice, so you mentioned about a few things there. You've touched on personal growth. And I agree with personal trainer. You know, I personally also go through phases where I do exercise and I've got personal trainers, and then I've got slumps where I don't. And without a doubt, always the periods when I've got somebody that I'm working with or doing exercise, life just feels much, much better. What other questions do we still need to ask you, Ben? I think we've covered a whole lot of subjects here. Is there anything else missing, or is that the most of it now?
I think that we've gone through as a firm a very big change over the last year. We've had one partner leave who was working very closely with another member of staff, which was very disruptive to the firm. So having the wrong people on board can be almost like a cancer in the firm. We had a horrendous time, and the way that we've dealt with it and come out the other side has been it's been a very difficult process, but we're very, very proud of the way that we've dealt with it, and we feel like we're in a really good place. We've just taken on a new partner, and that's a very exciting place to be. She's brought 4 members of staff, and the firm's buzzing, and it's very complementary to what we do, both in the UK market and also abroad. And I feel like we're in a very, very strong place, and we're very excited about moving forward and about the future.
Fantastic. And I know the model that you guys have is one where you're bringing partners on board, and you know that's not the model for everyone, but it's working for you guys. And I think part of your process, because you and Alan used to come to the coaching, the group, and not all the other senior partners were really bought into the process. And actually that created a disruption at some point, which has resulted in one of those people leaving. But at the end of the day, you're left with a much better A-plus team. Got another question here from Colin. What is Ben's long-term goal for the business and for himself?
It's a very interesting question, which I appreciate. The long-term goal for the business, having just gone through the process of somebody leaving and somebody joining, which was our short-term goal, we've just put in a date for a strategy day where we're going to take the key members, not only the partners but the senior members of staff, our managers and our supervisors, and we're going to talk about and our consultants, and we're going to talk about what we want for the firm and try and make sure we're on the same page before we plan out our future for the next 5 to 10 years. I think before, one of the reasons, as Rudy just touched upon, that the partner left was because we weren't on the same page the way that we wanted to do things and what we wanted in the future. So it's something that we're sort of recalculating and recalibrating now. But personally, I think that the future for the firm is not only growth but multidisciplinary. I think that I want to bring in several other income streams to the firm. We refer so much work out, and as long as some of the key referrers, it doesn't put their noses out of joint, I'd like to bring in other income streams to the firm that won't damage some of the other work that we're getting. And personally, I want to keep growing my portfolio. I want to grow the firm. I really enjoy what I do. I can't imagine not working at the moment. But I think that one of the things that I've done recently, personally, is look at my long-term financial position. And it actually made me think that I would like to retire probably 5 to 10 years earlier than I otherwise would have done. And I think at the moment I'm in line to do that because I can now see how we can grow in a short period of time and how we can keep it going as long as we're capable of adapting to some of the changes that are coming in, especially with regards to software. So I'm quite excited about everything that we've got going on. I'm really excited about the people that I'm working with, and I'm also quite pleased and proud about how far we've come in the last year or so.
Absolutely, and it's a massive journey you've been on from the early days where I think literally you were head in the hands and the world looking rather grey, whereas now you're in a very different place.
Absolutely.
So Ben, you've taken us on thank you very much for sharing with us your journey, and especially around the team side of things, your PA, and having the A+ team on board, and how that is so important. Some of the systems growth around debtors and work in progress, what you guys are doing there, how you're planning your own days, and how you're taking control of that. Also, you mentioned about the growth side of things and your personal growth. So, hey, thank you very much. I think we'll just leave a few more seconds. If anyone else has any other last question to come in, now's a good time to type it in. But I think that pretty much brings us to the end of this morning's call. So I've seen nothing else coming in. So Ben, hey, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'll definitely be touching base with you very soon again.
Thanks a lot. Nice to talk to you. Take care.
Thank you very much, and have a great day, and everyone else on the call, have a great day as well. Thanks very much.
Thank you. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.